so we're in the month of forgiving, week 2. And so continuing on with this book, because this is the book that we're going to be using in the class, the book of forgiving, The Fourfold Path for Healing Ourselves and Our World by Bishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter, Reverend Mpho Tutu. So there is a quote in there, and part of it was used for our meditation today, that experts say how important it is to be able to tell a new story and how this ability is a sign of healing and wholeness. Now, what I'm going to say as a New Thought minister, like everybody has this ability, okay? It's just inherent. It is part of our makeup. The thing that is really important is to realize that we have the choice to do so, okay? And then to act on that choice. So as I mentioned before, this past Sunday, we had our 91st Annual General Meeting. And I got to tell you, the Celebrate Sunday that happened before that was kick-ass. Am I going to say it? I'm going to say it. It was so good, like so good. We had about 40 people here. The music was amazing. Kelby was here. We had some guest musicians, Carl Rusing, who's been here at Elevate before, and Matisse Gabi-Herteg on upright bass, who is always an absolute delight. And just the energy was amazing, the vibe, like it was just so solid. And so we went into the AGM, and some people left, and then some new people came in. And the AGM, because it was business, had a little bit of a different vibe to it. And I got to tell you, leading up to the AGM, and I've talked a little bit about this during Wednesday and Sunday talks over the last few weeks. Liz. Thank you. And just mentioning how the first 4 months of this year have been a bit of a slog. And how even the last 18 months since Sherry and I started, October 1st, 2023, have not been easy. And so over the course of those 18 months, over the course of these last 4 months especially, I have been working constantly on telling a different story. Constantly about how can I reframe, how can I tell this differently so that I can experience it differently. Because like Kaleo offered, we can't change the past, but we can change our relationship to it. We can change the meaning that we give it. And where does that happen? When does that happen? In the present moment, right? And so for me, it was constant. I mean, I had more prayer going on. I was meditating more. I started working with a mentor because there was stuff that I just could not get through because I wanted people to feel as badly as I did. I wanted to show those people who made me feel like crap, this is how you're going to feel too. But in the same moment, it's like, no, that's not what a New Thought minister does, right? So it's a conscious choice from one moment to the next and the next and the next, because those feelings are there, right? You can't shove them down and kind of hope that, out of sight, out of mind when they're nipping at your heels constantly, right? No, you have to attend. You have to tend to them, right? And so that means noticing that they're there, you got to acknowledge them. And then you gotta let them have their day, right? The thing is, you don't want to let them have their day to the point where you are wallowing and hanging out and smoking cigarettes and drinking and lamenting and whatever with them, right? You want to know that these feelings exist, and even in spite of those feelings, in spite of those thoughts, regardless of whatever it is that's going on in our minds, that there is that in us that is so powerful, that is so creative, that is so resilient, that is so pure, that is so whole, that there's no thought, there's no belief, there's no feeling, there's no experience that could ever or will ever diminish any part of that. It cannot break it. It cannot stain it. It cannot mar it in any way, shape, or form. That's how powerful we are, okay? And every single moment, we are at opportunity to lean into and embody that power, that essential love, that divine energetic flow, that infinite potentiality of the quantum field. God That's what we get to choose from one moment to the next and the next and the next. And so there was something that was coming up for me about, it's time for the truth to come out. It's time for the truth to be known. And I'm like, oh my God, what does that mean? Knowing that I'm not about to go out and like name names and hang people out to dry or like, make people feel the way that I felt, sort of thing. It's not about teaching lessons. It's not about having or getting revenge. It is about choosing again and again and again to focus on what I want, to show up as the love that I know that I am, that I know everyone is, including the people who were driving me crazy, including the situations that were so challenging to navigate, because ultimately, what do I want? Peace. And when do I want it? Now, right? So, telling a different story, that's the way to do it. I might feel this way, but how is it that I would prefer to feel? And that's what I had to keep switching my focus and attention to. So I'm also getting ready for Saturday's first class. It's an 8-week class, Forgiveness, the Path to Genuine Compassion and Radical Acceptance. And the main book that we're going to be using is the Desmond Tutu book, but we're also going to refer to Tara Brach's Radical Acceptance because that is such a beautiful, beautiful book. And ultimately, forgiveness is about acceptance. Accepting what happened, accepting that I had a part in it, the other person had a part in it, and accepting that sometimes we're not necessarily the ones that, are being hurt, we're the ones doing the hurting. And that there is forgiveness that is available at any point in that relationship, at any point in that experience, for us to embrace. So the fourfold path is about telling the story, naming the hurt, granting forgiveness, and then deciding on whether you're going to renew or release the relationship. And the telling the story part is the thing that I really sort of am marinating in right now. Not just because it's at the beginning of the book, but because I've worked so hard on telling a different story from what my experience was, or the meaning that I was giving my experience. And so it's not the thing that happened that causes us pain, it's the meaning we give the thing that happened that keeps us feeling wounded. Stoking the flames of anger, amplifying the waves of pain, and rationalizing the insidious need for revenge. So the title of my talk today is Tell a Different Story, okay? And so this little girl just caught my attention as I was going through all sorts of images, trying to find something that was really going to grab my attention. And I just thought, man, if we had that kind of enthusiasm, if we were filled with that kind of wonder and those like infinite possibilities, like every moment of every day, which we are, but we're not always like leaning into it. But if that's the way that we approached our choices, how much more quickly could we walk that path of forgiveness? How much more quickly could we find the peace that we desire? How much more quickly could we remember the only moment of pure creativity is right here, right now? And that's where we want to put our attention. So this is why this little girl ended up here. Tell a different story. So going back to this weekend, before Sunday, on Saturday, Glenn and I were in our monthly Abundant Good Journey session. And it was all about Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, which is basically about moving out of your comfort zone and into the zone of genius, where, even though it sounds like that might be a super cool place to be, where you're like totally aligned and in the flow, it is actually the place of discomfort, because it's about growth. It's about doing something different and new. And sometimes doing something different and new is uncomfortable. It's disruptive because it's taking you out of your comfort zone. Okay, so that's what my Sunday talk was about. So if you want to know more about that, you can tune into YouTube and check out the Sunday talk. But the reason that I'm talking about it today is because we went into breakout groups during that Saturday session. And when we were filling out our answers on what it is that we were going to be talking about in the breakout group, what came up for me is that over the last 18 months, I have spent so much of my time and energy and creativity on this that I have really neglected my own business and my own brand to the point where I finished paying for my website 6 months ago and the website still isn't done because I have not provided the content that I need to provide because I haven't been inspired. Because even though it's similar work that I do as Lesia Soul Excavator, it is not the same as VTC, as being the minister that I am here. And so it means an entirely sort of different creative unleashment, I guess. And so even though I knew that this wasn't the case, what I ended up saying in the group was that I feel like because so much of my time and energy and focus and creativity has gone into VTC, I haven't had enough to put into my own brand, which I know is not true, but that's how it felt. So that's what I said. And I said, I know that's not true, but that has been my experience. And so I need to do something so that I can get out of that story so that I can actually put some time and energy and focus and creativity into my own brand. And so how do I move past, this thermostat setting that I have, where this is where my time and energy go, and yet this is what I also want to focus on. And so it wasn't until today when something really landed for me. I woke up this morning, I did my light therapy, I did my positive intelligence work, I meditated, and then as I got out of bed to go and do something that we're doing in this class that Glenn and I just started on Monday, I looked at my phone and there was a message from Gareth, my trainer, saying, I'm really sorry, but I have to cancel training today. And I got to tell you, I'm like, you know what, that's okay, it's fine. And that all of a sudden, I didn't even have to think about it. It was like, I now have about 3.5 hours of time that I wouldn't have because I would be driving downtown to work out with him and then doing more and then driving back and then getting ready for Elevate. And without even thinking, I finished my morning routine, I went to my computer and I started pouring through the, 50 plus seconds long videos that I had shot at the September 9D journey that we had. 7 months ago, these 50 videos have been sitting there, and I haven't had time to look at them. I went over every single one. And right now, the 9D app has just come out in the last few days, and so they're wanting all the facilitators to submit a form so that we can be featured on there, so that if someone's looking for a 9D facilitator in a certain part of the world, they can just, look up Victoria, BC. Hey, Lesia's got you covered, right? So I got to fill stuff out. I have this whole application that I filled out, but I got to make some videos. And I'm like, oh, that's going to take me so long. But because I had this time today, then there was just this stuff, this copy that was just flowing out of me. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't felt this in so long. This is amazing. And I ended up going through all the videos. I ended up writing the copy for a 2.5-minute video. I sent it to the person that's working with me to help me out with this. And I'm like, check, 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 check. And what I realized was, and I still knew this even when I said it, but it really, really sort of was just like, here it is today in this moment. It wasn't that there isn't enough creativity. There's always enough creativity, okay? Creativity is always flowing. Creativity is another word for God, all right? It is just forever flowing in, through, and as everyone and everything. It is available all the time. But when I have every single second of my schedule accounted for, it can be really challenging for creativity to show up somewhere because everything is so accounted for and blocked off. And today when I had that space, when I had that spaciousness and time, I just felt it. I didn't have to make time for it. I didn't have to look for it. I just felt it and allowed it to flow through, and it was glorious. Oh, so my story changed from I don't have enough time and there isn't enough creativity, which again, I knew, to I got to create more spaciousness in my day because that spaciousness allows for me to connect, allows for me to feel when creativity is flowing through and then capture it in stuff like copy for a 2.5-minute video or being able to pour through 50 plus seconds long little video snippets that were taken, 7 months ago. Balance. So it just,
Balance.
I'm a harmony girl. Harmony. To me, because balance, yeah, but harmony, like, you know, and so for people who are musicians, like maybe you get it, and you are, right? Like, oh my God, one of the most amazing voices right here in the front row. And so, yeah, so for me, it's about being aware, you know, of how, and being more intentional with how I plan my day and how I focus on the tasks. Because it's not time management. Like, read The One Thing. Amazing, amazing book, and it's not about time management. It is about managing your tasks and then making things a priority. One, there can only be one priority. That's it. There aren't priorities, one priority. And so that's a different talk for a different time. But today, that feeling of just being in the flow, like that was a leap, you know, into the zone of genius. That was a big leap right there. And I didn't have to force it to happen. But I needed to have that spaciousness in my day in order to experience it. And so once again, it really affirmed for me that I need more time in my day. And so that's a priority right now. So the whole point of this is tell a different story and have a different experience. So the closing song for this month is Holy, Holy Way by Ricky Byers. We sang it for the first time on a Wednesday last week. Sang it on Sunday too. And one of the lines in there is, oh, let me love or let me live or let me serve in a holy, holy way. And the first holy is WHOLLY, so completely, only, in just this way, nothing else. Oh, let me live in a holy, like completely holy, sacred. I am God. Everyone and everything is God. The only thing that is happening anywhere at any time, God, love, energy, creativity, infinite potentiality, whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you, that's all that's going on. And it's up to us to choose that, to consciously choose, to consciously shift our focus, to consciously reframe, to consciously tell a different story. Because ultimately, what we really want is peace. And the only time that we can create or that we can lean into or that we can intentionally choose that peace is right here and right now. Thank you, and so it is.